This week on the WIU Football Coaches Show, record-setting performances come up a little bit short in the homecoming clash against South Dakota. Highlights and reaction on the way, and a preview of the Leathernecks' next road test at Northern Iowa this Saturday. This is the WIU Football Coaches Show. Welcome to another edition of the WIU Football Coaches Show. I'm Danny Fry alongside Leatherneck head football coach Charlie Fisher. Western played its first home game at Hanson Field after starting the season at 3-0, and they matched up against the 10th-ranked South Dakota Coyotes. Fell just short, 38-33. Coach, not the best feeling to lose your home opener, but what a comeback effort in the second half to at least go down swinging.
Yeah, Danny, we just waited a little bit too long to kind of get going. We played, 39 minutes of less than average football where we just couldn't get out of our own way, and we played 21 minutes of just tremendous football where everything we did was clicking, and kind of hard to put your finger on it. Got to move forward, got to move past it and get ready for the next one.
What was the mindset for the home opener, especially after playing 3 straight games on the road, to finally play in front of your home crowd?
We had a great week of practice. I thought everything leading up to this game, our guys were really focused. I don't know if we were maybe a little uptight, maybe trying too hard. It's hard. Those are psychological things. Sometimes it's hard to put your finger on. Our guys were ready to play. We just didn't play as well as we needed to.
And we go to those first half highlights in Macomb. First game this season played in front. And Coach, the Leatherneck Walk, new tradition for you guys going through the tailgate area?
Yeah, we basically said, hey, let's take it to the fans instead of the fans to us. So we changed the route from Thompson and really liked it, and it's going to continue to grow.
And the Leathernecks come out, like you said, ready to play. And talk about your respect for Coach Nielsen, what he did here at Western.
Yeah, Coach Nielsen did a great job here, and we're just trying to carry on and do the very best we can under my regime and our staff and keep this thing moving forward.
And Coach Nielsen's regime at South Dakota, they went down the field very quickly, finds Brant Van Rukel down there, able to then find Alonge Brooks on a cross. He scores just like that. They're on the board first, 7-0. And then back to the air. This time it's Brant Van Rukel, who was a game-time decision down the field. And that ends the first quarter. First play of the second quarter. It's a 23-yard chip shot from Ryan Weiss. It's 10-0 at that point, but here come the Leathernecks. 31-yard completion to Jalen Ackland, one of just a few from him, Coach.
Yeah, he had obviously a game for the ages. We had numbers fade down the sideline and well-thrown ball.
And then the Leathernecks get on the board. McGuire to Harper, 10-6 with 12:19 left in the second quarter, embracing their OTC.
Yeah, kind of a tradition we love. I love it when we score down there. Our guys, it's kind of like the Lambeau Leap. We have the ROTC Leap, the bear hug, so it's pretty cool.
2:58 left in the second quarter. Strevler connects with Van Rukel for 32 yards, 17-6. South Dakota at that point. And then later on in the half, Strevler will try to go, and he's a Minnesota transfer for a reason. A lot of talent. Dual threat quarterback, like you mentioned, uses his legs. 27-yard rush here for the first down.
Yeah, he's an outstanding athlete, and we just weren't able to contain him enough from making some of those kind of plays, and that one right before the half obviously hurt us. And
this one, pretty much a buzzer beater run, just 1 second left over. He finds the tight end Hale over the middle, goes into the halftime break, 24-6, South Dakota. And Coach, what do you think really kind of led to that slow start offensively?
We were behind the change, Danny, the whole first half. We had 6 penalties in the first half. We had, I think, 3 in the first 11 snaps offensively. And when you're playing behind the sticks, it is really difficult. And we like to run the ball, heavy play action. These are things that help set up our offense. So when you're behind the sticks, it's hard to do those things. So now you're kind of, and you just lose a little bit of an edge in your rhythm offensively. Offense is all rhythm. We just could never get in it in the first half.
What was done to try and settle your team down at that point?
Well, at halftime, I just challenged our team to play like we're capable of playing. Is that simple? I mean, this isn't us. This isn't how we play. Relax. Very similar to the message I gave them a year ago. It just this time we had to overcome 32 points instead of 17 points. I think we were just trying hard, and we just could not get in rhythm. But once we got in rhythm, gosh, we played fantastic.
Now it's time for the 2-minute drill where you, the fan, get a chance to go underneath the helmet of your favorite Leatherneck players. This week's guest is Hunter Varga, and he might have a Coach Fisher impression or two coming up in the 2-minute drill. Enjoy. All right, Hunter Varga coming in here. Now, you're a long snapper. When did you figure out that long snapping was something that you were good at?
You know, in 4th grade when we were, playing football, I always played center, and we had to punt finally. And growing up, they just assumed I could do it, so they kind of threw me into the long snapping position. And I embraced it. I thought it was unique. I thought it was different. And in high school, I started going to long snapping camps, Rubio long snapping. I got in with that, and I kind of found that was my niche.
You mentioned high school football. You played for the Amboy Clippers. Clippers, that nickname? Are you guys get a lot of clipping penalties or anything?
No, nothing like that really. We try to keep it pretty clean in high school. We were always pretty fundamentally sound.
You have a favorite high school memory, high school football memory there?
Making playoffs my senior year, we kind of in a drought going into my senior year. We weren't in the playoffs, and it was nice to finally get back, especially my last year in high school, to get the playoffs.
Now, it's going around, and I've heard it on the plane on the road before, your Charlie Fisher impression. Do you have a saying from Charlie Fisher that's a go-to, and can you give us an example, please?
Yeah, for sure. Usually when it's time for a punt or a field goal, Coach Fisher goes, Vorga, he's like, get your hands on that ball now. He's like, come on, starts with you. That's usually his go-to for a field goal, usually, because I always got to be the first one there and first one ready to go.
Oh, that's about to say still spot on. We'll have to put it back, neck and neck there. Goofiest teammate on the team this year for Western. I know the special teamers. There's a lot of characters.
Yeah, we're a different bunch for sure. I'd either go with Sam Cross or Brett Taylor up there with the goofiest.
And so, okay, let's go back to a generic. You have a favorite TV show? Anything you watch
show?
lately?
I started watching Dexter over the summer. That was up there. Anything funny, a big comedy guy, anything like that, so Family Guy or anything like that.
All right, perfect. That'll take us up to the time. Hunter, thanks for coming on.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
The Western Illinois second half comeback effort against South Dakota when we come back next on the WIU Football Coaches Show. Welcome back to the WIU Football Coaches Show. Danny Fry alongside Leatherneck head football coach Charlie Fisher. At home against Missouri Valley Football Conference rival South Dakota, Leathernecks trailed at the half 24-6. But there's something special at halftime. The Hall of Fame for the Leathernecks being introduced. One of them, Leatherneck great punter Mike Cyphers. What was it like having him back around?
Mike's been a fantastic friend since I took the job, and it's great to finally get him back and have a chance to meet him. We've had a lot of phone conversations, but you talk about a true Leatherneck that loves Western Illinois. And what this program did for him, and then in turn what he's done for this program is pretty special.
Western went and put on a show in the second half for him as we take you back to Hanson Field for the second half highlights coming out. Western, Zeke LaShore trying to get everybody fired up, and a good guy to do so, but South Dakota on the board first in the second half. 2-yard rushing touchdown here, plunging in is of course big number 15, Chris Strevler. 31-6 at that point, 9:10 left in the third quarter. South Dakota would keep rolling. They keep moving it down the field in a very quick fashion. Up the middle, wait, hang on, there's a fumble, but Daigle, one of the linemen, Johnny on the spot, scoops it up. Sort of a scrum here. Coach, what's going through your mind at this point?
Well, obviously you're hoping we get the ball there. I mean, the amazing thing about this comeback is, a lot of times comebacks start instantaneously at the beginning of the third quarter. We actually went to 5:44 left in the quarter before we really started to ignite and get going, and that really makes what we did even that more amazing to score the points we did in a short amount of time.
Finally, here's the signal, and they were giving the big boy lineman some love there for picking up the ball in the end zone. Here comes the Leatherneck comeback now. McGuire launches a deep ball to Jalen Ackland, 62-yard strike over the middle, 38-13, 5:09 left in the third. That was right after that touchdown, a big strike.
Yeah, great execution. What a nice throw and catch, and just really was a sign of things to come here in the second half with McGuire to Ackland.
And so offensively, you got things going. How about the defense? A host of Leathernecks sack Strevler.
Yeah, we started to get after their offense, and we just settled in and started to play better. And I think they had, I believe, 3 3-and-outs, a 4-and-out, and a 5-and-out in this stretch of plays.
And so then how about the punt coming here? Steve McShane back deep for Western, and he's going to bust some moves and take it to the sideline, 77 yards.
Steve can be a special return guy, and we've started putting back there. And we used Darren Wheeler or Jalen Ackland some, and what a great return here. We actually had a foolish penalty behind it. We were able to overcome it here, but that big chunk play really helped the ignition on the comeback.
Seemed like some of those penalties Western was able to work past, like here. McGuire to Steve McShane. How'd he catch this, Coach? Flipped over.
Unbelievable catch. Steve has such body control catching the ball, and it's just the thing, we've got to keep him involved in our pass game as much as our run game.
Next play, he walks in from a yard out with only 35 seconds left in the third quarter, 38-20. Here comes Western. And then in the fourth, over the middle to Ackland, and he took some pops in the fourth quarter and still held on to the ball.
What a catch. What a catch under duress.
And how about another one here to Ackland? Takes another little pop there at the end, but he was able to get a lot of yards after the catch on Saturday. And why not go back to him? 38-27 as Ackland finds his way into the end zone. 7:14 left in the fourth.
Yeah, just a little option route and just a tremendous job after the catch.
And then your defense needed big stops on third down. How about Xavier Rowe breaking up the pass?
Yeah, Zave's has had a really nice year for us, really playing well, and that was a big play again to get us the ball back, just to give us a chance.
And how about that chance? Dump it off. Let's see what Jalen Ackland can do here. Shakes off a few would-be tacklers and scores. That's where you're thinking, okay, this thing could be real. 38-33. The Leathernecks would then go for two after it. But the day that Jalen Ackland had, and he wasn't even necessarily done at this point.
No, it's just phenomenal effort on his part, and the run after the catch here, ducking up underneath two guys, breaking the tackle, and then Jalen is in such great condition, and we've talked about the changes he's made. I tell you, his speed is really, really improved. And I think he's doing a nice job with the ball in his hands after the catch.
Western had to go for two at that point. Late in the fourth, they do. You stacked everybody on one side and threw the other.
Yeah, it's a special play that I've used for a long time. It didn't work out the way we'd hoped, but sometimes that's the case.
But the defense, huge on fourth down. South Dakota a chance to ice the game, but Western pushes them back. 34 seconds left to try and get into the end zone. But the first play on that last drive, Danny Rambo tiptoes the sideline, picks off McGuire, and that's all she wrote.
We didn't quite have just enough time there to get the ball down the middle, but Ackland was really running free again there, but they had a pretty heavy rush on Sean. He had to get the ball out, but just a tremendous effort to give us a chance with the ball in our hands to win the game at the end.
441 yards through the year for McGuire, and really only mistake that one interception. Jalen Ackland, 19 receptions, 343 yards. He shatters Frisman Jackson's previous records in both of those categories at WIU. He also scores 3 touchdowns to boot. Those 343 receiving yards, fourth most in a single game all time in FCS football history. And then Brett Taylor defensively, 28 tackles. That ties Rodney Harrison's record here at Western Illinois. And Coach, all of those performances that led to the big comeback in the second half. Other than that, what were some things that were done differently in the second half to help Western get going?
Well, we had to change the tempo a little bit because the clock's not your friend when you're down 32 points. So we did that. We didn't do exclusively all no huddle, but we certainly mixed that in a good bit. We just made more plays, and I can't say enough again. You talked a little bit about some of the performances. We can't understate the performance that Brett Taylor had with 28 tackles on the defensive side of the ball. So a lot of guys got to do a lot of things for you to come back from that far. Obviously it's disappointing we couldn't come all the way back. It would have been really a comeback for the ages in college football. And I've been part of some of these great comebacks before, but I tell you, we were on the cusp of really doing something special. We just didn't quite have enough time.
And the defense really turned things around. Was that a mindset, a scheme thing? What turned around there defensively there from 5:45 there left in the third?
I just think as long as I've been doing this, Dan, so much of football is momentum and energy and shifting of emotion. And once we made a play or two, we started to ignite and play the way we're capable. And our defense, we've been playing tremendous defense all year long. And we just started to flat out get after South Dakota and just change the line of scrimmage and the whole demeanor of the game.
Is that why things started to click there in the third quarter? It really was just a tale of 2 games.
2 games. I think, the big pass down the middle to Ackland, and then we get a stop, and then we go right back and get the punt return, and just like that, you got two huge momentum-breaking plays in a very short amount of time that just like say, okay, hey, we got a chance here.
Big takeaway coming from that series. Obviously, a tough one to swallow at first, but now your team's had a chance to kind of digest and look at it. Is it, on to round 5?
Yeah, I mean, you have to when you take something away from the game, you have to look the way we finished. Now, we didn't win the ball game, and it's disappointing the way we played in a big home game, obviously, for the first part of the game. What you have to take away, you have to build on something positive, and certainly the way we finished and moving forward, what we've got to do in these kind of games.
When we come back to the WIU Football Coaches Show, hear from the Missouri Valley Football Conference Players of the Week that rewrote the Leatherneck record book.
They win the game! She wins the game! The Leathernecks win!
Welcome back to the WIU Football Coaches Show. I'm Danny Fry. By now, you're aware of the outstanding performances from Leatherneck wide receiver Jalen Ackland and Leatherneck linebacker Brett Taylor. Hear about their record days from the standout players themselves.
I was shocked. Whenever I went into the locker room, I remember I looked at my phone after we'd all talked to the team. And I was going to go into the interview, and I saw a text from my mom, and it said had 343 yards. I was like, oh, my mom's like crazy. I was like, my mom's insane. And then I went into the interview, and I looked down at the paper, and it said 19 receptions for 343 yards. And I was just, I was happy at that point because I know at what point where I was at last year.
Ackland still doubted his mom's text.
Yeah, I thought whenever my mom texted me, I was like, Mom, you're crazy. She must have typoed maybe 143 yards. But whenever I saw I actually got 343, I was pretty ecstatic.
Brett Taylor thanks everyone around him for his 28 tackle performance on Saturday.
There wasn't really key to that. I just trusted what the coaches were saying. I trusted what my coaches and teammates do. And I was just trying to make a play and help my team win. It means a lot. I love Macomb. I love the fans, and I'm thankful they're always supporting me.
It was almost an out-of-body experience for Ackland.
Well, it's kind of funny because I wasn't even really thinking during the game. I was just kind of going with the flow. I didn't really realize how many passes I was getting or how many yards I was piling up until afterwards.
Taylor can't believe he's in the same company as Leatherneck great Rodney Harrison.
That feels pretty cool. I didn't even think about that until Pat told me after the game, but that's pretty cool. I'll look back at it when I'm older and think how cool that was.
Leatherneck football has a blue-collar mentality for the rest of the season.
I take pride in whenever I get the ball, you're going to have to forcibly take me down. I'm not going to go down on my own, or at least try not to. That stems back from my high school days. I come from a small Missouri Class II school, so I kind of had to work for everything that I had.
One game at a time, one play at a time, just communicate, eliminate mistakes, and just keep moving forward and get better every single day.
Coach, we were talking about during the break, you put Jalen Ackland's performance, 19 catches, 343 yards, on that performance on somewhat of a scale.
Yeah, it's a 10. I've been fortunate. The length time I've done this has been in quite some time, 37 years, and always been a quarterback receiver guy, always been involved in some memorable passing game performances, and I've seen great running performances also. But to do what he did, kind of not a one-man show by any means. It's a team game. Sean McGuire, let's not understate the job that he did in our offensive line, giving them time, and the other receivers. But Jalen's performance would certainly rank up there. I go back to 1998 when I had Torrey Holt at NC State, and he had 260 against Clemson and 4 touchdowns. And just, those performances don't come along every day, Danny. And what he did on Hanson Field is going to be hard to equal for some time to come.
No, fans will have to go and have to realize that. But I think early on this year, you kind of figured out that Ackland was going to be one of Sean's favorite targets.
Yeah, I've said this for 9 months, so it's a broken record, but the offseason set this young man up. The spring he had was really good, and it just, throughout camp, he just kept making plays like what you just saw. I've been seeing it now for a spring and a fall camp. So it's no surprise to me now to get 343 yards. That doesn't happen every day. So obviously the 4th best all time in FCS football history. And I don't know where it ranks even in all of Division I history, but I promise you it's up there.
And Brett Taylor, of course, is always there. And I thought I've seen Brett Taylor make a lot of tackles before here in his previous 3 years playing at Western. But 28 tackles and to match a guy at the caliber of Rodney Harrison just has to be special for a guy like Brett who grew up here. I mean, bleeding purple and gold.
That's rare air. Where you put Brett Taylor in the list of the great defensive players that have played at this school, because it's not just a couple. I mean, there's a bunch of them, and he's right at the top of this list because it's a special list. And, Brett just he's an instinctive player that has the ability to find the ball. He has competitive greatness that he's always going to be at his best when his best is needed. He shows up on game day. Now, he practices hard. He does all those things. But great players show up in big moments. And Brett has always done that throughout his career. No surprise to me ever that he gets double-digit tackles. It's just a matter of how many over 10 he's going to get.
And that's pretty much a guaranteed 10 every time and a couple for loss as well. Coach and I preview Saturday's test at Northern Iowa next on the WIU Football Coaches Show.
Western Illinois University allows you to think for yourself and to discover the freedom to become your own.
Own it at Western. Build your own expectations and fill your own shoes.
Explore an academic culture that adapts to you.
Create yourself and inspire originality in an open and safe environment.
Western Illinois University lets you make your own success story.
Think purple.
Think success.
Think Western Illinois University.
Welcome back to the WIU Football Coaches Show. It's time to check in on how Missouri Valley teams performed already in the 5th week of action. So we'll pull that up and take a look. North Dakota State all over Missouri State. Of course, South Dakota edging Western Illinois. Big showdown, Youngstown State and South Dakota State. It's Bo Pelini and the Penguins coming out on top 19-7. Northern Iowa and Southern Illinois, that was a sneaky good game as well. Came right down to the wire. UNI holds them off. We'll talk about more about that later. And Illinois State over Indiana State. The Sycamores still winless, even though they are a talented team. And now the game's on tap for week 6 in the MVFC. North Dakota State undefeated, taking on a winless Indiana State team like I just mentioned. Southern Illinois at South Dakota State, and still a non-conference game, the Redbirds of Illinois State visiting Northern Arizona in the Sky Dome. But Coach, let's bring it back here. Coach, your team trying to get back on track, and you got the UNI Panthers coming up on the road. When you're looking at UNI and a Coach Farley coach team, what stands out?
Defense. That's their hallmark. They're a 4-3 team, physical. Don't beat themselves. Don't do things. They're not a complicated defensive team by any means. Just well coached and fundamentally sound. And these are all things coaches say, but it's the truth. When you click on the tape with them, they all look the same. They're big, strong, physical guys. They play hard and they play well together.
And they're coming off a game against Southern Illinois, real close. They went 1-2 in non-conference, but it seems like UNI always turns it on for Valley play.
They do. I mean, they're a good team. They have a lot of experience in winning in this league, so they have a lot of confidence. Their quarterback's playing well. Eli Dunn, he's done a nice job for them. They've got enough weapons across the board that they can win games. They played a pretty tough non-conference schedule, of course, with Iowa State, Southern Utah, some of the people they played. Cal Poly has pretty good teams there. And, they're a handful, particularly in Uni Dome. Western has had some success there. We've got to go back and have more success. We've got to find a way to win this game against a talented team.
And it was last year at Hanson Field. Northern Iowa was just kind of a game that kind of just wore yourself out kind of there.
Yeah, they did. They wore us down a little bit. They hit some big throws early that kind of gained them some momentum. And at the end of the day, they started to run the ball on us and hold the ball, and we just weren't able to kind of change tide, change momentum. And that's who they are. They stop the run, they run the ball, and used Eli Dunn off the play action. So that's kind of who they've been. But make no mistake, their hallmarks their defense.
Well, you talk about that defense. Well, what can be done offensively to try to get some holes through them there?
Well, I mean, they're going to load up to stop the run. You still got to be able to run the football, but they do play the run well. You've got to make some big plays. I mean, we've got to. And you got to make. I always talk about this: explosives or chunk plays, whatever you want to call them. Good offenses make those plays, like we have all year, and certainly like we did in the last part of that game Saturday. So we're going to have some of those. We got to be able to run the ball better than 33 yards than we did Saturday. I mean, that's a big important key to this game.
Last week it was all about protecting homecoming, protecting home field. But this time you got a chance to go in there and spoil the Panthers' homecoming.
We do. We've been a good road team, so we're back on the road again. We carry that flag high for us to be a championship team. You win on the road, so we're going to have to go back and do it and do our very best to go 4-0. Our guys will be ready. They love playing on the road. They love the challenge of being the visiting team and going against the home crowd, so to speak. So it's a great challenge. It's another great opportunity. But when you sign up for this league, every week is a battle. It's a contest. It's what you want in a great league. Every week is tough.
Anything different playing in a dome or playing in a few domes this year?
Well, it's very similar to Northern Arizona's dome, really, by layout. It reminds you a lot of that. I've never played a game in the Uni Dome, but I've gone to 2 games there recruiting, so I know a little bit what it's like. It is a little bit different, no question about it. The kickers love it. There's no wind. Everything's pretty sterile. But it is a little bit different. We'll certainly have a walkthrough to kind of get used to that. They've got some new turf down, Danny, so that'll be a little bit different. But,
that's right, they did.
Yeah, they
Big
do.
project this summer for them.
Right, so they got new turf. So, it's a beautiful dome. They've got great tradition. It'll be another tough, physical, hard-nosed contest.
That's right. Another tough MVFC showdown. The Leathernecks go to the Cedar Valley to the Unidome in Cedar Falls at 4 o'clock on Saturday. For Western Illinois head football coach Charlie Fisher, I'm Danny Fry. Thanks so much for watching.